Welcome to the Capula podcast, Ultimate Exchange. I'm your host, Stephen Lane, OT Cybersecurity Lead here at Capula. We have a special guest with us today, Julian Meyrick, Managing Director from Eraneos. Eraneos is a global management and technology group. Julian has a focus on advising boards on the potential business impact of cybersecurity and on quantifying cybersecurity risk in financial terms. He's focused on this since 2019. Julian has presented to CEOs, group management committees, and boards across Europe and represented the private sector on a panel at the World Economic Forum annual cybersecurity meeting in 2022. He's a fellow at the Institution of Engineering and Technology and lectures on cybersecurity as a business risk at Oxford University's SED Business School Exec MBA program, and at Trinity College, Dublin's Business School. Hi, Julian. Welcome.
Thank you, Stephen. It's great to be joining you today.
In this two-part episode, we will be talking about bridging the gap, empowering CISOs to communicate OT cyber risk to the board. This is something that if you're a senior cyber leader or a senior engineer, you definitely don't want to miss. This is part one, and we're going to talk about what risk quantification is all about and why it matters. Part two, we'll dive into cyber threat and talk about the practicalities of implementing risk quantification. Capula came up with a simple 5 domains approach to industrial cyber resilience. Our first domain is assess risk, and today's conversation fits squarely in that domain. If you're not familiar with Capula's 5 domains of industrial cyber resilience, visit our website for more information. So let's just dive into risk quantification and its relevance to OT security. Julian, if we could start by asking you for the 60-second answer on what risk quantification is and why it's important for senior leaders.
So many business leaders and boardrooms really view cyber as a technical issue, which they basically delegate to the technical experts that hopefully they've hired. The challenge then is that those technical experts talk to them in technical terms. So as a result, they really struggle to manage cybersecurity as a business risk. And this is actually highlighted recently by the new CEO of the NCSC as a real challenge. Because cyber incidents can cause really significant business disruption. As a really sad example, unfortunately in 2023, Knights of Old, a 150-year-old family-owned logistics business, went bankrupt due to a ransomware attack. And the attack led to the business having to lay off 730 employees.
Wow.
So the National Cybersecurity Centre now recommends quantifying cyber risk in financial terms. This approach really helps us communicate cybersecurity risks in a way that is much more familiar to business stakeholders. It makes the discussion more relevant to the wider business context of the organisation.
Oh, thank you, Julian, with that. I think just reflecting on what you said, I think it's really important that we do talk the language of business and that we actually try to abstract away from our technical language and be able to communicate with those that are the decision makers. So I just want to reflect on compliance and risk methodologies. And you're smiling, I know, because you know what's coming on this, and we've talked about it before. But organizations I speak to often tell me that they're following a compliance approach, such as the cyber assessment framework for NIST. And they're already doing risk assessments such as safety risk assessments, and they might be doing sort of technical risk assessments with 62443. And I've heard it from them when I've asked, and they turn around and say, is that not enough? So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, for me, compliance is definitely important, but there is a difference between compliance and risk management. Compliance is really a way of learning from past mistakes that other organizations have made. But the way I think about compliance is imagine you're sitting in your car and you're looking through your rearview mirror.
Yeah.
That's compliance. You're looking at the examples that other organizations have made mistakes, and how can you make sure that you don't have the same problem? But for me, risk management is looking through your front window screen, because it's really compliance focuses on past errors, but risk management is really assessing future business impacts. What could these situations really mean for your own organization? So A risk management approach can really help identify potential future risks, and then that allows you to take proactive steps to reduce or at least mitigate the risk impact.
Okay, all right. So tell me about a situation where you might have quantified risk for senior leaders, and you've seen them go through that light bulb moment from not really sort of understanding what it is that they the risks that they have to actually going, aha.
Yeah, it's a really interesting example was a Nordic aerospace and defense company. Being part of the defense supply chain, no surprise that they thought that the confidentiality of their data was the most important thing. So arguably a focus on compliance. My team, using cyber risk quantification, demonstrated that actually for them, the disruption of their core manufacturing processes would have had a far more significant financial impact for the organization. The CEO described this approach as a very clear, structured and reliable way of managing cyber risk. And then he presented the results to the board, and the board was frankly quite surprised by the level of potential business impact of the cyber risks. And he got what he wanted, which was support to invest further in cyber security.
So risk quantification in that example kind of cleared the mist from a set of assumptions to actually something that was factual and fact-based.
Yep.
And completely changed the direction of strategy.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So I understand from conversations that we've had previously that you had the opportunity to present risk quantification at the Cabinet Office at government level. How did that go?
Yeah, well, so this is an important point for me as well. So quantifying cyber risk in financial terms is applicable in the public sector as well as the private sector. Obviously, cyber has wider impact than financial impact in both the private sector and the public sector. But fundamentally, it's the funding of the recovery is the immediate challenge in most situations. And so funding recovery is just as relevant in the public sector as it is in the private sector. So my team were delivering a security strategy project for a UK government department. And as part of that, we were prioritizing the activities that needed to be taken using risk quantification. So that business case was then presented to the Cabinet Office to get approval for the funding. And the feedback from the Cabinet Office was it was the best business case for investing in cybersecurity they'd ever seen.
Wow.
And so I was then asked to go and brief the Cabinet Office team on risk quantification. For me, it's really positive that the National Cybersecurity Centre is now encouraging cyber risk quantification as part of their risk management guidance.
Yeah, and recently I had a conversation actually with Ofgem, and Ofgem said something very similar. Ofgem indicated to me that doing technical risk assessments was not quite enough, and they wanted people to understand risk from a business perspective. And it sounds to me like risk quantification is probably the ideal way of doing that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's just wrap this up and wrap this episode up. We've pointed out that many business leaders view cybersecurity as a technical issue, and that means that they tend to delegate it to technical experts. We've talked about the importance of quantifying cyber risk in financial terms and how that helps communicate risks in a way that's familiar to senior stakeholders and also as well, I guess, to shareholders too. We also highlighted how this approach is recommended by the National Cybersecurity Centre, and you've touched on that with your example of the Cabinet Office. An important point was made that compliance focuses on past mistakes, your example of looking in the rear view mirror, while risk management assesses future business impacts. Thank you, Julian, for your insights and helping us really sort of understand the importance and the relevance of risk quantification. It's been a really useful discussion.
Thank you, Stephen. It's been a real pleasure.
That wraps up part one of our two-part podcast. Please join us for our second part, where Julian and I will dive into cyber threat and talk about the practicalities of implementing risk quantification. To our listeners, if you're ready to start quantifying your OT cyber risks and communicating them effectively to your board, visit Capula's website for more information and resources. Be sure to check out our website www.capula.com, where you'll find the latest news and insights. You can contact us through the Capula website, or you can look us up on LinkedIn. That brings us to the end of today's episode of Ultimate Exchange. Thanks for listening.